There's nothing more exciting than cutting someone in half with your finely crafted Japanese sword, also known as a katana. Oh, and video games are cool too, I guess. Which is why today I'll be talking about Genji, Dawn of a Samurai, a PS2 exclusive developed by Game Republic and published by Sony themselves back in 2005. It's a game that looks much better than it plays. It got a sequel for the PS3 however, so it must have been somewhat successful. It must have been the fact that it's loosely based on the epic tale of a hiker. Books are cool and stuff. Yeah, enough with the bullshit, let's see what Genji has to offer. Genji has a lot of cutscenes. How many cutscenes exactly? Well, we're talking about Metal Gear levels of watching versus playing. So, is the story as complex and interesting as the Kojima World Order classic? Fuck no, it's not. It's your basic good guy versus evil army sort of deal. In 1159, the battle between the Genji clan, led by Yoshitomo Minamoto, and the Heisei clan, led by Kiyomori Taira, was won by the Heisei, who used mysterious jewels with vast magical power. You play as Yoshitsune Minamoto, Yoshimoto's son, who aims to defeat the oppressive Heisei and reclaim the mysterious jewels called Amahagane with the help of the Tamayori Bito clan and a warrior monk called Musashibo Benkei. Along your travels you meet various characters with equally hard to pronounce names for a gaijin such as myself, and many exciting and supernatural events occur, but that's the basic gist of the story. Things go by very slowly, and I was tempted to skip past the game's cutscenes many times, but the story's pacing manages to build intrigue and leave you guessing on what's gonna happen next. Fortunately, after the introduction, you are immediately thrust into action, with Yoshitsune having to defend himself against a bunch of Heisei samurai. Time to finally play the game and see what it's all about. Genji's presentation is its strongest point. It is without any doubt a very beautiful game. You will explore a variety of different areas, such as lush forests, small villages, ancient temples, and imposing castles. Everything looks crisp and full of detail, making the experience much more cinematic and immersive. Of course, the game's art style is unapologetically anime as fuck, but does a great job portraying feudal Japan in a realistic but also unique way. Besides your generic human foot soldiers, you'll be fighting a slew of exotic animals and mythological beasts, spicing things up combat-wise. When it comes to the game's music, things are exactly as you would expect. You'll enjoy your typical drum and flute compositions you've heard in every Japanese period piece that has ever existed. Is it bad? Not at all. It is a great and appropriate companion to the action and never overstays its welcome. But it's nothing special either, it's just perfectly serviceable background music. Genji feels incredibly cinematic in its presentation and oozes atmosphere. The graphics are pretty, the art style is charming, the animations are smooth, and the effects are serviceable, just like the music. It's the kind of game that really makes you stop for a second to appreciate its world and beautiful landscapes. Until you get attacked by some random goon and have to defend yourself, that is. At first glance, Genji's combat reminded me a lot of Onimusha. After all, both games are very similar in their art style and presentation. You could also compare the game's combat to Dynasty Warriors or even Shinobi. The thing is, Genji's gameplay is flashy and stylish, but ultimately simplistic and a bit slower than expected. You can play as Yoshitsune the samurai or Benkei the monk, with the ability to switch characters at specific points in the game. Each character has the same basic combos and attacks. A normal one that is fast, deals average damage and can be chained into a combo, and a special one which is slow but much more powerful. Even though both characters control the same, they play very differently. Yoshitsune is fast and agile, being able to sprint, double jump and land safely on small platforms that would otherwise break under heavy weight. However, he's pretty weak and fragile, and his double swords can only target a single enemy at a time. Benkei, on the other hand, is the better choice when it comes to combat. He attacks very slowly and moves at a snail's pace, but he is much stronger, has greater reach, and can attack multiple enemies with a single attack. He is also much tankier and can destroy any obstacle, since he's an absolute beast of a man. Unfortunately though, focusing on a single character isn't a good idea, since there are areas that can only be accessed by a specific character, and sometimes the game itself will force you to play as either Benkei or Yoshitsune for some story segments. Exploring is important, since it will help you find various restorative items, power-ups, and even equipment you can use, such as swords, war clubs, and armor. Even though its new armor set is basically a palette swap, it's still nice seeing your equipment change somewhat when you acquire new stuff. Defeating enemies also grants you experience and levels you up, making you stronger and healthier as the game goes on. You can also find hidden items that can be used to increase one of your character's basic stats of health, defense, and damage. So, there is a very rudimentary RPG element to the game, but it's nothing to write home about. It's just there to add a tiny bit of depth to the game and break up the monotony of the combat. And speaking of combat, hacking and slashing your enemies until their head pops off is all fine and good, but Genji's main gimmick is the Amahagane, the magical jewels that give you the power of Kamui. Geez, so many Japanese words! When you use Kamui, you enter a state of heightened awareness, allowing you to counter any enemy attack and dispose of most enemies in a single hit, as long as your timing is right. It can be used on any enemy, even bosses, and it's a great way to end fights quickly if you're overwhelmed, or farm special gear from stronger foes. When done correctly, Kamui executions are spectacular and make you feel like a real samurai with cat-like reflexes that can dodge any attack and destroy anyone with a single, well-timed sword strike. Most of the time though, you'll be feeling like a complete dumbass, because Kamui's timings are extremely difficult and finicky to pull off. There is a visual indicator to show you when to attack, but by the time the prompt appears, you'll only have a few picoseconds to react. You can use additional Kamuis to slow down time even further, but it doesn't last long enough. Plus, not all enemies react the same to it. Some enemies come at you in predictable attack patterns, others strike you immediately, and others wait for a second, then attack you when you least expect it. I can see where Elden Ring got its inspiration from. Therefore, it's pretty impossible to use Kamui reliably from pure instinct alone. You have to memorize enemy patterns, be at the correct distance, and pray the input lag doesn't fuck you over. It can be very frustrating, especially because the game in general is slow and clunky as shit. You can't block cancel, every attack animation takes forever to finish, and you can't even lock on to a specific enemy. Most of the time you'll be attacking once or twice, then block, then attack again, like it's a turn-based game or something. You can't really afford to get hit, since every hit stun locks you, and if you get caught in a long combo, you're pretty much screwed. Enemies also respawn constantly, which I guess is fine if you want to farm experience or health drops, but in the end it slows things down to a crawl and makes combat a much more boring experience. Which is a shame, because fighting looks quite stylish and Kamui executions are really impressive and varied. But despite the stellar presentation and the amazing animations, combat ends up being shallow and frustrating because of its clunkiness and general lack of speed and responsiveness. So, is Genji Dawn of a Samurai worth a playthrough? It really depends on what you're looking for in a game. Do you want to enjoy a movie-like experience and an interesting story with stunning visuals and a stylish presentation? Then this is the game for you. But if you're more of the pure gameplay type, then Genji doesn't really have much to offer you. It's too shallow and basic to be enjoyed by a hardcore hack and slash fan. Still, I mostly enjoyed my time with it, so take that as you will. And that's all I had to say about Genji Dawn of a Samurai. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stuff. You know how it goes. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.